It's Friday night.
Stay tuned for a whole new season of TGIF.
Rad.
Dude.
Rad.
Dude.
Rad.
Rad
dudes.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of Rad Dudes. Oh,
good to be back.
It is very good to be back. It's been a while. What do we got, dude?
I got Uncle Jesse with me, guys.
Oh,
a nice little drawing of Uncle Jesse.
Where did you get that, man?
I got it at like a Comic-Con or something. I walked past it and I was like, that's too funny. And then I didn't get it. And then like a year later, I walked past. I was like, I'm going to get it this year. It wasn't there. And then 1 year I saw it again. I was like, I have to get it. It just cracks me up. That's
beautiful, man. That is beautiful. Now, what's the deal? Is it Katsopoulos or Cochrane? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's Katsopoulos. That's what
What was the deal with that?
I don't know. It just kind of switched it up on us.
I was so mad. I was like, Cochrane. Like, what the hell?
That's the thing about like 90s sitcoms, man. Like sometimes you would have like this same actor on the same show twice, you know, and they'd have different names, and you're like, wait, wasn't that Steve from season 1? But now he's Chad on season 3, you know.
And what was he like at first he was like an exterminator, remember? And then
he was, wasn't he? Him and his hair.
Yeah, and then he became like a rock star or whatever. But it was just so funny because of the way that kind of evolved, and we'll definitely talk about that. But man, it's definitely a different show, and I'm curious to see how many people pop in here and check it out, because we're not doing horror, we're not even doing movies. We're doing something totally different, and we're talking about childhood growing up in the 90s, because if you were a kid of the 90s, you had to have been hanging out and watching TGIF every Friday night. No doubt. I mean, do you remember like being in school and being so excited for Friday because it was like just part of the routine? Like between this and like Snick on Saturdays was like already what my brain was processing towards the end of the week for me as a kid.
Well, same with like Thursday must see TV with like, Seinfeld and Friends. Yep. Like I was a little kid watching those things. And then so it would be like Thursday and then Friday all day. I'd be like, oh man, what's Urkel going to do tonight? What's Cody going to do, and step by step. So I was like so excited about that. And everybody else was so excited about that too. Cause I was very young when, in the 90s, when I first started watching TGIF. So, it was a thing where like, families would sit at home and watch TGIF. It'd be a nice, wholesome family time.
Sure. I mean, it definitely would be. The way I was, like, my mom used to work nights. So not overnights, but like she'd get home about 10. So like a lot of times on a Friday, it would be my dad and he would be home. He'd get home from work. She'd leave. And it was like a routine every Friday. I feel like it was always like it was Friday night. So my dad would take my brother and I out to dinner. So, but the idea of what my dad was going to do for dinner was, it was like, do you want Taco Bell or do you want Little Caesars? Like basically that was the go-to every Friday. And then we'd go to one of them and then we'd figure out what was next. It was either rent a video game, rent a movie. He'd bring us to the toy store to buy an action figure, or we'll go to the arcade or something like that. Like there was always something in the works, but we'd always be home about 8:00 right in time for TGIF to start. And it was just something that was part of growing up for me, even to a point where like kids in the neighborhood would go to each other's house and like watch it. Like as like because I live in a neighborhood with like all kids. So we'd be like, oh, let's all go to his house and we'll watch TGIF. And then afterwards we'd just walk home and we'd be like 10 years old, So it's just nothing like that anymore. I feel like.
I know. Well, that's like now if you put a TV show on Friday nights, that's usually like, you put a show on there to die basically. Cause people don't watch a TV show unless you're like Blue Bloods or something,
So let me ask you this. Do you know, obviously TGIF was pretty damn successful. I think it had to have been, right? So to think about that and how successful this was, and they were putting shows on here that wanted to either start new and like become a thing or revive a show, whatever. But you said now that it's like the total opposite, which is just wild to me to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, if you want something, basically like if your favorite show goes to Friday nights now, you're like, well, this doesn't look good for the show,
Yeah, that is interesting. See, again, I don't watch a lot of TV now, so like
Mhm.
shows and stuff. So I don't know any of these things. Like, I mean, I love wrestling, and SmackDown has been on Friday for years, and I've never watched it, right? Ever.
Same.
So it's just crazy to think about like how times have changed so much from the 90s. But we'll get into all that, and we're going to actually run through like year by year, talk about what we remember about some of these shows, and hopefully the chat can kind of chime in as well. But before we start, I'll just see who is in the house. We do have a pretty good group of people in here right now. Adrian James, what is going on? You're old Giza? I'm an old Giza too. What's up, Pat Master? Where is he? There he is. What's up, dude?
Pap.
Oh, definitely rad. What's up, Fashi? Go over there and see Fachi, man. He's always doing some crazy stuff over there. Oh, I see. This always happens to me. I'm always battling with either AEW or Joe Bob. I didn't even know.
I know.
It always, dude. Never fails. What's up, Robzilla? Hall and Oates.
What's
going on?
What's up?
Mel from My Killer Podcast and 1/3 of the Rad Pack. What is going on, Mel? Let's see. Virtual Boy. Where is he? Speaking of 90s. Here we go. Boom. What's up, Virtual Boy? Love it. What up, Kenny? Kenny. I love it. What's up, man? We got Magic Hands. Vanderhoff. Dave, what's up? Rad Dudes. What's up, man? Tiana. What's going on? Oh, Cobwebs. What's up, Daniel? Good to see the dudes getting it. Thanks, man. It's been way too long.
Mm-hmm.
It's this YouTube world is just crazy, man. It's hard to even fit all this stuff in, but I know people have been wanting it. They want the shirts, they want the merch, they want the show, so it's back. All right, Retro Ryan, what's going on? Man, there is a lot of people chiming in. Don Morton, what's up? All right, we got a super chat coming through. Who we got here? Let's see.
Tiana loves movies, I see.
Ooh,
yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons would be another whole episode. I mean, that is definitely something that I was into.
Yep, that's
sure Cody was as well.
Absolutely.
But guys, thank you so much. So, like, memberships are open, super chats are open, and tonight, doing a little TGIF. Thank you, Tiana. I appreciate that. I know Cody appreciates that too. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. What was that dance called? It's called the joy dance, the happy dance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Happy dance.
Yeah, the happy dance. Yeah, the happy dance. Yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely get a little happy dance action. We love it. Thank you so much, Tiana. All right. So I will get back to the chat as we go. But again, we got a lot of years to talk about. This actually ran a lot longer than I thought, because again, it started in like 90 and then all of a sudden, like it went for pretty much 10 years, right? Like,
yeah, 89. Yeah. So fall of 1989 to like the 90s run, which was the successful run, to like 2000.
That's crazy, man.
So about 10 years.
It's nuts because,
and it was.
I mean, it basically is like my whole teenage life, basically.
Yeah. It was the first time that a network tried to sell a block of TV to viewers, and that's what they did. So after that, that's when like Must See TV started naming their stuff. So TGI was like a start of this brand of blocking TV.
So is that kind of what people start, like these companies started doing, is to kind of almost create a brand for their night for certain things? Because like I said, we had this, and I always remember Snick being like a Saturday, and it was always kind of the same thing, like 8 to 10 was always like the big block.
Yeah. And
then growing up too, like I remember Mondays was always like, I remember Blossom was like on Mondays, and then like I remember because then wrestling would come on right afterwards, and then I think it might have been Tuesdays, maybe Wednesdays, but there was one, it was always Home Improvement was always on a night.
Yeah. Home Improvement was on like a two. I remember every night there was a different show that I wanted to watch, sitcom wise in the 90s.
And that's what's so wild about sitcoms in general, because you know, they're out there, but it's not the same. Like when we go through some of this stuff, even some of these shows that I didn't really remember until I kind of researched it, like it was almost like they were throwing ideas at a wall so hard that it was like to see what would stick, because some of the concept of some of these shows is just out of like left field. Like who came up with this? Like it's crazy. Do you remember in Seinfeld where they were trying to that season where they were pitching the idea of like I don't know, somebody got in a car accident and he became his butler or something. Like they were trying to Jerry and George were trying to pitch it to the network. Like
as a TV show,
yeah, and as stupid as that sounded, like that's legit what like a lot of these sitcoms were about. It was so random. Like even look at something like Who's the Boss, like how random of like a story that was. Like I mean, there was just so much randomness to it, which we'll kind of go into now. And I will get back to the chat, but oh no, Pat Master with a big 20 spot.
Wow,
over here,
Master.
Dude, thank you so much, man.
That is
I
rad.
appreciate that. I don't know. I appreciate all your support, man, as always. And I guess they want to see the dance, man. So
yeah, do the habit. That's funny. And I do want to say something. So my sister is watching and she is like the #1 Full House fan. So she has the answer to John Stamos's name. She said that John Stamos wanted to pay homage to his Greek heritage. So that's why the name changed.
Is she in the chat or no?
She's not in the chat, no. But
she's
okay.
I was looking for her.
She texted me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's watching.
Yeah. Yeah, she texted me. So yeah.
All right. That is interesting. So he wasn't. So you're saying he wasn't a Halloween 3 fan? Is that what you're saying?
Probably not. And like I said, he changed it earlier on because I think somebody else had a different name too. Like, didn't Aunt Becky have a different name too? Like her. But I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. But there was a different Danny Tanner in the very first episode. I don't know if you knew.
No.
Yeah,
you know what? I kind of remember that, but now I don't really. I remember that, like I may have seen that, but I don't even recall who it was. Who was it?
Yeah. So they filmed the first episode with I can't remember his name, but his son was on Teen Wolf, the TV show, Tyler something.
Wow.
Something like that. But anyways, he did the pilot, and they showed it to the execs, and they wanted to recast him, so they reshot the whole pilot with Bob Saget.
I mean, think about that. I mean, he was like the main part of the show. That it's crazy that that he might have not even been there, right? Like that's what's so nuts.
Yeah, could you imagine being that guy though, being like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, they're making changes to the show and they got rid of me, and you watch the show and you're like, it's exactly the same, but I'm not there,
Right? I mean, that's almost like, I mean, you look at Eric Stoltz and see what Back to the Future became, and him be like, holy shit, like that could have been life changing for him.
Yeah. And that first episode of Full House is freaking hilarious. It's 3 men and a baby. I guarantee you that's where that sparked the idea in like Leonard Nimoy's mind to be like, hey, I want to write and direct this kind of thing.
Yeah, it is wild because as we start to kind of dissect some of these sitcoms that were coming out, like we do see that there are sneaky spin-offs of like popular movies or anything like that. So like, again, it started in 1989. So in 1989, you said it was like the fall of 89. So it was kind
fall
of
the
tail end. I'm just trying to kind of grasp like where the heck I could have been in life at that point. I was young, man. Like, so Full House kind of started it off at 8 o'clock. Like that was the big heavy hitter right at 8, which obviously everybody was a fan of. Now, I don't remember, like, I remember Full House being on, like, around 4:30 a lot of the times. But, like, was this, like, where did it start? Like, was it here, or do you know if it started somewhere else?
No, I actually I wrote, that happened in, like, 86. Where is it? Full House started on September 22nd, 1987. And then, Perfect Strangers started on, where is Perfect Strangers at? So I have them all written down here, but Perfect Strangers started in 86 on March 25th, 1986. So those were their 2 really wild, successful shows, and they wanted to anchor those in. So on the like fall lineup, you have Full House, and then it goes into Family Matters, and then Perfect Strangers. and then something called Free Spirit, but I don't know if that was a show or
it was.
Now, Free Spirit and the 10 of Us. Yeah, so I think they would put like so I've noticed like a lot of the shows on at like the 9:30 spot, those were like shows that weren't working very well. So I can see where they were anchoring. So they wanted the Full House audience to stay in for Family Matters, and then okay, Perfect Strangers is going to be on. So then they'd stick around for Perfect Strangers. So they wanted people. They didn't want people to watch one show. They wanted people to watch all 4 shows.
Now, was Family Matters, did that debut on this? Do you know?
It did, and it was actually a spinoff of Perfect Strangers.
Was Urkel on Perfect Strangers?
No, Harriet. Harriet was the elevator operator. Yes, and even if you watch the second episode of Family Matters, she gets fired because she goes in and demands a raise, and she gets fired as the operator. But then later on in the episode, she becomes like a security manager. But that's where it came from. Harriet Winslow came from Perfect Strangers.
Dude, I mean, for people who love wrestling, like I love this. Like I love that like they're like intertwined with these shows and they're kind of spin-offs. And then we'll see down the road that like there's cameos from show to show. It's just really intriguing to me that they did that, because it's like such storytelling where if you were a huge fan of Perfect Strangers and you knew everything about it, and all of a sudden this show's like a secret spinoff of the show, it's just wild to me that was kind of how it is, because then it took off and, you know, the Urkel craze came. And with a lot of these shows, you're not even sure, like was Urkel supposed to be like their attraction that was going to get the show over, or was he just a character that got over that then put him at like the top of the mountain? Because you see that a lot with certain things. Yeah.
So Urkel doesn't appear until episode 13 of season 1 of Family Matters. So and it was supposed to be a one guest spot. The episode's called Laura's First Date. And she wants to go to this dance, but no one's going to ask her. So she has, Carl, the dad, feels bad for her. So he calls up Steve's dad, is like, hey, does your son have a date to the prom? And it's the whole like mix match thing. But he had so many laughs that the execs were watching this and they're like, okay, we got to do something about this. Because last night I actually went back because I knew that Urkel wasn't in there at the beginning. So I wanted to go back and watch the episodes that he wasn't in. And in my mind, he didn't show up till like the 6th episode or not. It was episode 13. So when I was rewatching the episodes with him not in them, I don't think I've ever seen those, because I don't think that they were popular enough to show them during reruns.
Sure. So he really like put that show on the map then.
He did. And I was reading that because later on the mom leaves the show because she just had enough of the Urkel thing, less later on, 5 years down the road and whatnot. And I saw that they didn't really treat Urkel that well because, they had this established thing. And it was like, because like the show gets a lot sillier as it goes, especially as years go on. But man, I'll tell you what, watching it, because like the first episode is Carl's mom moving in. So I was like, okay, so the show is going to be about like, the crazy old mom moving in and the mother and son, playing off each other. But it's just about like a nice family, and it's a good show. But once Urkel's on there, like I was laughing pretty, like you could tell, like, okay, this is like you can tell that the show like popped right there when Urkel shows up, and no wonder to keep him on. And you know what's
that was like a game changer. Now, do you feel like it? I don't know. Like I haven't, to be honest, I forgot about that, and it makes me kind of mad that I want to go back and like buy these seasons of this show because, I mean, again, a lot of these shows are they easy to find now? Like, are they streaming places? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, so man, last night I was watching a few so last night I watched Family Matters on Max, HBO Max.
Oh.
And so like Hanging with Mr. Cooper was on HBO Max. Wow. So was Step by Step was on HBO Max. So I was able to like shoot through all these. The one that's the hardest to find is Perfect Strangers.
I got it right here.
I know, that's awesome, man. That's great. Yeah, and I was looking up some lists and like they're like Perfect Strangers. That's like like the number one show for TGIF. Like if it wasn't for Perfect Strangers, TGIF wouldn't be where it's at today with the spinoffs and stuff like that.
That's interesting because, being so young, Perfect Strangers was always funny to me.
Mhm.
But, I was more of like, obviously, the Family Matters, Full House, Step by Step. Like Perfect Strangers almost felt like it was a little above my head at that point in time of like where I was. But I always liked it and found it funny. But it's just interesting. So it's cool to see that, like we said, season 1, Full House, boom, Family Matters, and then Perfect Strangers. Then it says Free Spirit and Just the 10 of Us, which is almost like they failed. Like the Free Spirit didn't do well, so then all of a sudden they switched it like halfway through. Now, what's funny is I looked at a trailer for Free Spirit, and I don't really remember it, but I'm going to tell you that it looks like it was like something that I'm like, I want to watch this because it almost was about a guy and a family, and there was this girl that was like the mom, but she was a ghost. It was super weird.
Oh, was she like in a box or something?
I don't know. They just kept showing her on like the trailer. Like they kept puff of smoke and she'd like appear.
Okay.
And then she'd help him do something. And then all of a sudden she'd like vanish or whatever. Like, and I just thought it was kind of a cool, different concept that I'm like, I wonder if this is available anywhere to like purchase or stream or something, because it definitely looked intriguing of a show. But I didn't remember that one at all. And then Just the 10 of Us was that sitcom with like what's her name there? Heather Langenkamp was in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't think that lasted much either, but I never saw it, but I do remember her being in a sitcom before she got into Elm. So, or maybe it had to have been after Elm Street then.
Yeah, because Elm Street was 84 and this
it had to.
Well, whenever, I don't know how long Just the 10 of Us lasted, but it didn't last long in the TGIF spot.
Sure. Yeah. Agree.
And that's where they would like move stuff around, especially that last place.
Yeah, that was the first year. And then like, as you kind of see, like Full House, like that stuck around. So that kind of held its own all through 91. That was like the big leadoff hitter was Full House. And the Family Matters, the same thing. Like that was right there. Perfect Stranger still there. And then they had another one jump in that 9:30 spot called Going Places, which I looked up and I don't remember that at all either.
Yeah, do I?
And that didn't last long because then it went right into Perfect Strangers left. Now, do you know, like you said, this was their heavy hitter. They got rid of it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Perfect Strangers ended in 93. So they got rid of it out of there. So I don't know, maybe it wasn't going with, maybe they wanted new hipper stuff, but I saw that because Perfect Strangers lasted till 93 with 8 seasons, but I saw that the ratings were still good. It's just, it was, they were getting to the point where the actors with their, with their contracts, that they were becoming too expensive to make those shows. So that's why they kind of were like, okay, as soon as they slip a little, we're going to cancel it. And I think that's what happened. They slipped a little, and that was their excuse to cancel the show.
But I mean, 8 seasons for a sitcom is pretty respectful.
That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. So it was coming to its end anyways. Yeah.
That is wild. And then we kind of see like taking its place where things like Dinosaurs were introduced, which is wild to me because that was a huge success. Like as a kid, when that came, like we got him. Boom. Look at that.
Dinosaurs. Yeah.
So that was a huge thing. But at the same time, for some reason, I felt Dinosaurs came later. Like I'm shocked that it came this early in TGIF's history, because I almost feel like I remember watching that first episode and it was such a big deal. And seeing some of the shows that came on afterwards, I was like, man, I already thought they were kind of in the mix. But what did you think about Dinosaurs? I have these. I just got them. These guys, these are at Walmart for like $10 a season. There's it's like $10 a thing. I think each one has 2 seasons. These were 10 a piece.
Yeah, 4 seasons. It's the complete series.
I haven't watched that since I was a kid, and I just don't know how it holds up now.
I have not watched it either. And it's funny, I have them and I haven't watched them, but I was watching all these other shows that I didn't have. But yeah, it lasted 4 seasons and it ended because it was just too expensive for the animatronics.
I bet.
So there's like a thing going on where it's like they're just too, you can have a successful show, but if it's too expensive, they're not going to waste, they're not going to want to put out that money for something like that. But yeah, that debuted in 1991. And it's crazy because I was probably about 3 years old. So, but I remember it. So that's why I thought it was a little later on, because I remember that lineup perfectly. Like that was,
yeah.
you know.
And and I still want this. I remember as a kid, I always wanted that like talking, not the mama baby plush doll or whatever. And I never had it. And it's like one of those things that every once in a while I'll go on eBay and try to see if I can snag one for a good price, because they were like legit to scale too. You know, like, so I thought that was always pretty cool that to have that. Like I have an Alf back there.
That's awesome.
I got my Steve Weiser.
I want that so bad.
Let me see if he still. I don't think he works anymore. Let me try. Oh, he kind of does. Got any cheese?
Yeah, we're talking about. It looks like it reminds you of like the penny heart or the little penny.
It's so talented.
That is awesome.
So yeah, this was such a cool item. Like he was just everywhere back then, and the same thing with Dinosaurs. Like it was just really like everywhere. And what a risk of a sitcom, right? like rubber dinosaur suits, and let's make a sitcom out of these puppets. It's just, to me, it was so innovative and wild, and I don't know, man.
In the episodes they had, I think they were able to get away with it. Like, like the Sun. There's an episode where he's like taking like these like vitamin things, but they're basically steroids. He's like getting like he's like roid raging. That's the episode I remember the most. That and the very last episode, which I applaud them for doing, but it was very dark. The last episode of Dinosaurs.
I remember you talked about it. We were talking about it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's like even the last shot is just so sad. It's like, like the ice age is coming and the fam, like they're all like huddled up in like the living room.
Oh, I do remember that. They're like on the couch or whatever.
Yeah, and they have like blankets on, and like they're like, "Oh, we're gonna be okay." And the dad looks out the window. He's like, "I hope so, son. I hope so." But you know that they're all gonna die. It's like, damn,
that is wicked dark, dude. Wow, especially because this was like for kids. Like it probably went over everybody's head. Like even me, it might have went over my head to realize like what was even going on, right?
Yeah, because I didn't know what it was until like maybe like, I don't know, 3 years ago. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, the last episode's very dark." I was like, "Really? Of dinosaurs?" And I looked it up. I was like, "Oh dang, that's pretty dark." But I applaud them for doing stuff like that. 90s, they would have, well, even in the 80s, they would have those random episodes, like, a very special episode where you're like, "Oh crap, we're getting serious right now," kind of thing, which I love.
Yeah. Didn't they do something like that with Roseanne, and then they had to go back and fix it because it was like I could be wrong. Like I almost feel like Dan died, and then they had to like go back and like make it a dream or something. Like
yeah. Like the last season ended up being a dream or something. I think so, and they won the lottery. Dan died of a heart attack or something like that.
Yeah, because it was like just going off the walls, and I think they were like, we need to try to fix this because people are getting mad and the ratings are shitting and whatever.
Yeah, but it's like just like like you said, like Dan, like there's a whole episode where Darlene walks in on Aunt Jackie changing, and she has like bruises and stuff all down her back, and she's like, "Oh, what happened to Aunt Jackie?" And they're like, "Oh," and you find out she's being beat by your boyfriend. And then Dan like punches the wall, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness," I was like, "I want Dan as a dad," kind of thing. When I was when I was a little kid, like those shows were just so they taught you something. And yes, they had over the top comedy, but it's like some of those episodes were just like, man, you don't.
Oh yeah. Roseanne was pretty deep with that kind of stuff, like a lot of that kind of stuff of like, with them even fighting about like things where like they almost got divorced. Like, I mean, there was a lot of different things like drugs. Like there was a lot of stuff that they talked about in Roseanne for sure.
Real life. Well, that like on when Roseanne came back and she got fired from the show, she dies on the show from drugs, from an overdose. And then the Connors continued, them with like different aspects of that. I don't know if anybody's seen the Connors, but it's actually really good. And you don't even notice Roseanne's gone, which blows my mind. Yeah, and Danielle Harris came back and replayed her character now, and she dies of brain cancer like in the second episode. It's like, what?
No way.
Yeah, it's crazy because she was on it as a child. In the 90s.
Yeah, well, that's how I was introduced to her.
Yeah, and then it was like last year or something. She was on like a 2-part episode, and she was just like living life, and you don't know, but she's dying of brain cancer, and you don't know until she's actually gone. It's a good show. I do like it. I appreciate it. Which
cool.
Which actually has nothing to do with TGIF, but it's just a great show.
I mean,
go watch it.
Sitcoms in general are kind of like lost arts, and I'm glad there's still kind of some out there. Let's see. Yeah, baby, that's you. That's you. He's jumping ship.
That kid.
So another show that came out around this time too, after Dinosaurs was introduced, was this show called Baby Talk. Now, we talked about this before we went live, and you had no recollection of it. Now, I didn't until I watched like the opening credits, and I was like, oh my God, I do. And it's basically like Look Who's Talking, but a series, basically. It's about a baby that talks. And what's funny is you got, what's his name in this, as like the Scott Baio is in this, and he's like plays like the babysitter. So he's almost like kind of like what's his Travolta's character in. It's basically like almost the very same thing. Yeah,
and I saw that it was based off of it, because like when I was looking stuff up, it was said that a show called Baby Talk that was based off of Look Who's Talking, and I love Look Who's Talking, so I never even knew about this show. So that's something I want to go back and like rewatch and stuff. Wasn't Scott Baio in that one? Wasn't Baby Geniuses? Isn't he in that movie too? Don't they have talking dog or talking babies in that?
I don't even know that movie.
Yeah, it's a show called like Baby, or a movie called Baby Genius. That was like more like late 90s, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, no, he was in this, and again, 90 to 91. That pre Charles in Charge or post?
I think that's post Charles in Charge. I think Charles in Charge was late 80s.
Huh. That is interesting that he'd be on this. And again, Baby Talk could have been like, I think that only really lasted, like, it's weird because like they kept bouncing 930s around, like as we kind of progress, like it'll be on for a season, then it'll be off, then come back, and then it'll be off. So they were kind of almost like switching shows out around that 930 spot, but we kind of see that one for a year or so. Yeah,
because you see that Perfect Strangers so they must have ordered like a half season of it, because then they put Perfect Strangers in there during the spring, or during the half of the spring. So they must have been testing it out.
Yeah, and then again, Full House is still your front runner, and then all of a sudden, Full House is gone. So come into like late 91, Full House is out, and it's like, what? And I didn't realize this, but you even said like they sold it off.
Yeah, because me growing up, I remember Full House on Monday nights, and that's where it was. I think like, I don't know if it switched networks, but it's switched times. But yeah, like some of these, like towards the last few seasons of like some of these shows, they would get rid of them and just sell them to another company. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And then like other shows would be like, okay, well now we just have like this mini TGIF pack,
Now that's a good point. Was that where it went to Mondays? Was that followed by Blossom? Was that the lineup?
I think so. And I believe, yeah, that. And I think like, what's Will Smith's show? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was either on that day or the next day.
Oh, Fresh Prince. That's what was Monday. That was Monday. That was Monday. No doubt, for sure. Okay. Now it's all starting to make sense.
Yeah, so they had a solid Monday night as well. So I think that's what they were trying to do. They're like, we can do this on Friday nights. Let's see what we can do everywhere else. And other TV channels being like, what what can we build?
Sure.
And Stick and stuff like that came from.
Well, that's what's so crazy is that they got rid of one of their top shows, like Full House, but taking that front spot was Family Matters, which they built to be like this mega show, which is crazy to kind of think that for a juggernaut like Full House to be like, okay, you know what, it's worth us getting rid of this and then bringing this one to the front because it's already made now. We don't need it to follow along that, which is just crazy to see. And then all of a sudden it brought into this new show, which again, to me was a great show. And that's Step by Step.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I don't have that.
Yeah. This is like, it had like 6 episodes. I remember, it was at Target. But yeah, only 6 episodes, but September 26th of this year, a complete series of this and Family Matters is coming out.
Oh, I gotta get them.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be like the stack, but
sure,
I want them though.
Of course, I'll do the same thing. You could do like you could have like your own little TGIF party. We get all the little ones, and you can do like, that'd be sick.
Well, looking these up, I was like, oh my gosh, a lot of these are on DVD, but they're so expensive. In my mind, it's like when I was younger buying all this stuff, why was I not buying like Hanging with Mr. Cooper or Best Buy or Step by Step? But I didn't want to show this off since Full House. We got this complete series. This is
hell yeah
awesome. And yeah, this went on to this left this left in 91, and it didn't end. The show didn't end until 95, so it still had a lot of legs in it.
So was that like about a 10-year show almost?
It was. Let me see here. It was 8 seasons from 87 to 95.
Wow. I mean, that you really felt like you saw everybody grow up, and that's what was so crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one show that I wanted to talk about that it was one of these shows that popped in at about a 9:30 spot for like one season or like even a half a season. And I didn't know what it was until I watched it. And I was like, holy crap, I remember this. And it was a show called Billy. And I'm going to tell you guys, if anybody doesn't remember that show, watch the trailer for it or like the opening credits. Cause on the opening song, they give you they kind of tell you what the show's about. So by the time the show starts, you already have an idea of like what's going on. Kind of like I think like Who's the Boss kind of give you like a bit of a rundown of why he's there or whatever. Dude, it's like the Wild West. I'm trying to remember how it goes. It's about a guy from Scotland who was like a teacher. He got fired from his job and he had no like passport. And he met a woman whose husband just like left her and she had kids. And they came to some kind of arrangement where they were going to like just get married so he could stay here. And then he'll help her like raise the family, but they weren't really like dating. It was like so wild of like a story, a concept. But what's funny is one of the girls from Step by Step, the blonde, is in this show.
Oh, okay. Dana?
Yeah. So like this show must have like not lasted and she bounced to the other show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because I see they're on at the same time or the same block.
Well, yeah. So that is weird, huh?
Yeah. Because Dana, she actually started on a show called My Two Dads, and she was in a movie called Lisa back in the day. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a movie called Lisa.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Was she? Well, how old was she with that then?
She was young. That was before Step by Step. So Lisa, she the title character Lisa, which is a good movie, a good thriller.
Yeah, it's got a Blu-ray by I think Scorpion has it. I think I have that. Yeah,
I do have it. It's out of print now though.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I do believe I have that, but it's been quite a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, because I saw that she was one of the anchors for the children for the show, because that's what they did in TGIF. They wanted to take kind of known celebrities, like you had like Suzanne Summers, and then you had not Patrick Dempsey. I can't think of his name, but the guy who plays the dad. He was from like Dynasty or one of those shows, and then she was from Three's Company, so they were familiar for the parents to come in, and then for the kids were like, oh, we know her from My Two Dads, so she was kind of like an anchor for the show.
Actually, you know what? I could be wrong. Like, I could be wrong. It could have been she could have been in Going Places, I think, maybe. And then what I think maybe Billy was, I think it was David from Roseanne was in Billy as the son. So I think I mixed it up. So I think she was in Going Places, which was already done by the time Step by Step came out. So they probably took her and be like, oh, we got a new show. You want to be on it? Like,
yeah.
And Step by Step did really well. As far as I know, I mean, I thought that was like a really cool show.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I saw that TGIF was, or ABC was kind of scared because it was more it was a family that didn't get along a lot of times because it was a blended family, so that was different for television.
That's right.
It was like the Brady Bunch but kind of blended, and they didn't get along a lot of times. So in the second episode they have Urkel come in so they can have a familiar face come in to have people go over to watch that. And then because of when they had the success of Urkel, they're like, okay, now what can we do to have a character like Urkel on the show? So instead of having a nerdy guy, they created a character called Cody in episode 4, who was like the cool guy. So he was the opposite of Urkel. If you look at it now, you're like, oh my God, he's the complete opposite of Urkel. And that's like everything they did was for a reason on these successful shows. So Cody is basically the
cool guy, right?
Cool, yeah. Cody's what you get if they just wanted the opposite of Steve Urkel.
He was like a I mean, what was he? A martial arts like surfer guy or whatever. Like, I mean, how much cooler in the late 90s could you really be? Really?
Yeah, because I was watching. He shows up in episode 4 of Step by Step, and he like kind of shows up, and he's like, "All right, well, I got to leave or no, he shows up and he's like trying to someone like they place a bet to see if he can date Dana. Like he doesn't want to date her, but he wants to. I guess there's money seeing if he could get her or whatnot, which is not the Cody we know now. Anyways,
was he supposed to be like their cousin or something? Like what was he?
He's Frank's nephew, and he's like he like demolishes buildings and stuff. Because after that episode, he's all right. Well, he's like, all right, I gotta go demolish this one building in this other state, and it's during like a family picnic, and they're about to lose like the tug of war, and all of a sudden Cody comes in on his motorcycle and helps them win.
Think about like how wild though these shows were, like in the sense that you could do anything and everybody would like mark out for it. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like,
and like JT, like the older son, he was so funny, but he's all like every episode he's trying to sleep with somebody. He's like this, like this 14-year-old kid is God want to sleep with that girl. It's like what? It's wild.
It is wild. Like I forget like that kind of stuff. And there's another show. It wasn't on here, but like I recently watched like Growing Pains, and there's a lot of stuff like Mike Seaver was like a wicked bad kid, like in that show. He was a wicked shyster, and like some of the stuff he did, I'm like, dude, this is brutal. Like it's stuff that they could never get away with now. Like same
with like Zach Morris, he'd be in prison.
Right.
It's like what is this guy doing, man?
For real. Like he was. There was like one episode I was watching or something where he was having a party at his house or whatever, and it was getting out of control. So he wanted to kind of call the police to break it up or something. But when he's calling the police, he's putting on like a Indian accent to like try to make it seem. It was like wild. I was like, oh my god, it's like the wildest thing.
Well, do you remember Urkel? He would go into his Stefan machine.
Yeah.
But there's like this time he'd go in there and put like some kind of formula in. He'd come out as Bruce Lee. It happened like 3 different episodes. Yeah. And he talked like Bruce Lee, and you're like, man, it's cool, but I don't think you could talk like that, man. He was like, there were cool fight scenes, man. They did some cool choreograph on TGIF fight scenes, man.
Yeah, they did. And like we even talked about, like with the step by step, like the Cody stuff was pretty killer once you kind of saw that. Now, I did pull up something just because we did talk about this last time, and it was just I had to just do one little segment because to me it's still wild that it even wasn't a thing. So if anybody wasn't familiar with Step by Step, this really happened.
Which one do you want? I'll take the blonde one. She looks like she wants me.
That's real life, dude. I remember seeing that for the first time and going crazy and being like, what? And like they I think they even promoted it like that week or something, like Beavis and Butthead were going to be on the show, and I'm like, what? And then when I watched it, I was like, what the heck?
Well, it was so funny because I remember you telling me, do you remember when Beavis and Butthead were on? And I was like, I don't. So in my mind, I was thinking like they had the cartoons come to the door, but then I remember you showing me the clip. I was like, oh my gosh, like I remember that. Like it came flying back to me.
That was so killer. And then like we got Rob saying that even on like Growing Pains, they had like his friends, his name was Boner.
Boner, yeah.
Like it's just there was like no rules like to any of this stuff. And it even Ben Grimm's bringing up like Doogie Howser gets robbed and gets like a gun. It's just crazy.
Well, like on there's an episode of Family Matters where Eddie gets pulled over by a white police officer for being a black, and it's a racist cop. So like later on, Carl confronts him. It's a good episode.
Wow, that is wild that they were bringing in stuff like that, back then, and it kind of like it just. You watched it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, but now like how much more it would mean now, right?
Same with like on like Fresh Prince when remember Will gets shot, he like dives in front of the bullet because they're getting robbed. Yeah, and then Carlton gets a gun, and then there's an episode where Carlton takes the speed on accident and overdoses. It's like, dang man, there's some good episodes. And same with like the whole the most famous clip of Will's dad leaving, and,
right.
Will crying, like some of the best acting in a sitcom ever, It
was wild. It's just go crazy that like how the deep things got when, again, a lot of these were dedicated towards kids. well, not dedicated, but it was kind of for the whole family. But like,
Yeah.
it kind of walked that fine line where kids could get enjoyment out of it, but at the same time, adults could get enjoyment out of it because it was some stuff would be over the kids' heads. And to be honest, I think it would be fun to go back and watch some of these now as an adult because you're probably going to watch it from a different lens than you did maybe as a kid. And it would be super interesting. So I'm excited to get those releases when they come out.
Yeah.
And I try to kind of collect some of like my favorite ones. Like I've got all the Seinfelds, I've got all the Home Improvements, I've got the Roseannes, you know what I mean? So I try to get these sets of like these shows that I was really, really into growing up. So yeah, I'm excited for those. I don't think I have, maybe, I don't know if I have Fresh Prince or not. I might. But that would be another good one to really have as well.
Yeah. And I think I feel like I've seen that at Walmart, like in like, you know, the bundle where you can get that. Because I think they probably released that again when like the the revamped TV show came out.
Right. Oh, I have the Wonder Years, which is another one I really, really liked. But man, it's just crazy. Like, I think it's funny because I'm trying to look right now and see like where I feel like the strongest for me was as far as these lineups. And it's funny because the lineups that I remember aren't like really, I thought Step by Step was with like another show, but it doesn't even look like they even crossed paths, which is even crazy to think about. So like we're talking about 93 here. You got Family Matters, 92 into 93, Step by Step, Dinosaurs. And then the last one in the 9:30 slot was a show called Camp Wilder, which I remember, but I don't. Like it was like Jerry O'Connell was in it. Damn. Like I watched the theme and I was like, I kind of remember this, but I don't remember it at the same time. But there was also that show Where I Live, which I thought was a really good show. That was almost like a spinoff of like Cosby's with Dougie Fresh.
Man, I do not remember that one.
You don't remember that? I think it was like it was a Cosby spinoff because I think one of the daughters from the show, she's in this like living in the city now. And like Dougie Fresh was that the show I'm thinking?
Well, they had a different world. Is that what you're thinking about?
Oh, I'm thinking of a different world. Oh,
yeah, different world. Yeah.
Oh, but this has Dougie Fresh in it too, I think.
I think so, yes. But yeah, different world was that spinoff, yeah. She was only on it for like a year, I think, and then she was fired from the show.
Oh, that was a pretty cool show. I liked that show when it came out.
Yeah, dude. I remember watching that show before school one day, and Tupac was on it. I was like, what is Tupac doing on A Different World? But yeah, he was the guest star.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Huh?
So that is interesting. So this one, Getting By, not Getting, was that what it's called? No, Where I Live was another Dougie Fresh show, but I guess it didn't really last because I don't see it anymore on here. And then as we go into 93, this is a real cool lineup, this one. This was pretty strong. I mean, I thought Step by Step was still here, but obviously, it is still here. I thought Dinosaurs was still here, but it's already gone. But that's
what I thought too. I thought Dinosaurs was in with these shows as well.
That's what I thought as well. So you've got Family Matters, Boy Meets World now debuts. Step by Step hits the 9 o'clock spot because again, what's cool is like these ones that are hitting like the 8:30 are now moving to the second hour, which means that they're building successful shows, right? Like. That's huge. And like, it's really, really cool that they're being that successful with like, hey, we're going to give this a shot. Oh, all right. It's already a monster. So now we can use that to anchor this. It's crazy to think how well this kind of worked for them. And the only shows you really see messing around are like that 9:30 spot. And, you know, you got Family Matters, then Boy Meets World, which is debuting at that point. And we know what happens with that show. Then you got Step by Step anchoring the end. And now, in my opinion, these 9:30 ones were two bangers for me. You had Hanging with Mr. Cooper, which I loved as a kid.
Same here.
It was kind of like, to me, it was kind of like a Fresh Prince, but on TGIF, like style show. And I don't remember, was he an ex-basketball player? Was that his story?
Yeah, he's like an Yeah, well, he was like an ex-basketball player, or he was finishing college, something like that, and then he becomes like a substitute teacher.
That's what I know. He was a substitute teacher, but I always remember that one episode with Charles Barkley. Do you remember that episode where like, so he was Mr. Cooper. I don't remember his Mark. It was Mark.
Mark.
Right?
Mark. Yeah.
He was like, he had a dream of like, he was going to be in the NBA or something. And he was going to try, or he was supposed to try out for the NBA. And he kept having dreams about Charles Barkley, like I'm trying. So wait a minute. I'm trying to think. Okay, so I think he got into the NBA or tried out, but Charles Barkley like kept pushing him around, and he said to the guy, "Welcome to the NBA." And then he kept hearing that over and over. He turned on the TV, it'd be Charles Barkley, "Welcome to the NBA." He'd eat his cereal, he'd look down, and Charles Barkley's in the milk. It was so funny, man.
That's funny. I'm gonna have to look that episode up.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I always remember that. And I thought this was a really, really cool show, but to me, it just didn't seem like it lasted as long as I remember. It felt like it was always on there, but that kind of split the seasons with Sister. They would go back and forth, which I thought was another great show.
Sister only lasted that season on there, but then they moved it to a different time.
Oh, so it went somewhere else, because I was going to say, I remember Sister being a show for a little while.
Yeah, Sister was on for I think about 5 years or so, but it was only on TGIF for like the fall or the spring of that year, and they just moved it to a different day. So maybe what they do is they like jump kick a show, and then they just push it to another day to see if it's successful with their other successful shows. Yeah.
Oh, she definitely was. So what's funny about Sister, I always thought was I think I'm right. The little kid, the kid next door, was he B2K?
Yeah, no, not to B2K. He was from Immature.
Oh, is that what it was? He wasn't B2K?
No, yeah, he was Batman from Immature.
That is so funny. I knew he went on to do like R&B or whatever, but
yeah, that's but yeah, he'd wear like and he was like nerd on there. Then he was like like the Hot Pops or whatever. But yeah, he did that song with Kel Mitchell, "Do My Thing." Do you remember that song? Where like he's Ed, so he comes out just rapping like Ed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a cool music video and cool song. It was like probably like 96 or something when that song hit.
I'll have to look it up, but I remember when he was like kind of so he wasn't. Why do I think okay, it was Immature then. That's what it was.
Yeah, and then they changed their names to IMX or something, and then they took over for like the House Party movies.
IMX, that's what I'm thinking.
IMX, yeah.
I knew it was like letters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that is so funny that's what happened with him, because I always thought that was a pretty cool show. And hanging with Mr. Cooper was really good. And did that just kind of have its run here and then it was gone after a couple seasons type of thing, or did that move somewhere else?
It moved somewhere else too, because it was Hanging with Mr. Cooper lasted 5 seasons, so it ended in 97.
Okay, now I wonder if that's something you can grab. Now
you can. I did see that they come singly. Like season 1, single 2, because I looked that up because I was watching the first episode of Mr. Cooper last night, and I sent you the beginning. Remember with the Jason Seaver or whatever? He's like, "Hey,
that was super cool." Yeah.
Well, anyways, in that opening, he's like, "Oh, I hope I last 7 years like you guys did." And I was like, I wonder if he did. And I looked it up; it was 5 years. But dude, the whole first episode, they're in the whole Seaver house, like the room, the living room, the kitchen, it's all the same. So it's crazy to see a new family live in that house. And then the second episode, he opens the show as, "Hey guys, we got our new set, blah 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 blah." And it was pretty cool.
What's funny is I didn't know that. Like you told me that, but I started to watch an episode yesterday, and I'm looking at the set and I'm like, I bet this is that same set, but I think it's all redone, because if you look at the staircase, it's the same. The background has the fireplace, but it's all painted white. The entrance of the Seavers house is now like the kitchen, and like the kitchen door from the Seavers house is now like the entrance. So like I think it's the same set. They just remodeled it all.
Yeah,
to make it different.
Yeah. But it was really wild to see them in the exact same house for the first episode.
Oh, and look at this, Brian. He already owns the step by step.
Dude, yes, he sent me a picture of them. And dude, he has those are expensive now though. Like the ones he has, I want what he has. Like like the normal, like when they fold out and stuff like that.
Sure. No, that's sick, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cooper was cool, and I actually had someone in the chat just opened up a memory of mine that I totally forgot, and I don't know if you would remember. Okay, Jesse, In the House with LL Cool J. Do you remember that show?
Absolutely, man.
Holy crap. I totally forgot about that until right now. And it's like opening up a memory where I'm like, dude, I freaking love that show.
Yeah, and Kim Wayans was on that show. Dude.
Yeah, where was that?
That was on UPN, I believe.
Really? I remember just loving that show.
Yeah.
And was that like a weird time in his career? Like, it's strange to me.
It must have been. I remember he was like an ex NFL player. So he was an ex NFL player. Then I remember he was like trying to like start a like a health gym kind of, and like, and Kim Wayans was like the next door neighbor who was like obsessed with him.
Yeah, and he always had the colored do-rags on. And
yeah, colored do-rags, and he had like, that's when people started wearing their pant leg up.
Oh yeah.
That's where you got that from. Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool show. I would love to try to find that.
Yeah, that's actually, because I still have cable, and that's on TV once in a while. Because I was watching it the other day, or the other week or so.
Funny. Oh yeah, UPN in the house.
Yeah.
TGIF-esque shows.
Yeah, man, not a lot of people talk about that show, but yeah, my grandma was a huge fan of Steve Harvey and LL Cool J, so she got us into those shows, the Steve Harvey show and In the House.
That is so funny. I totally love that one. But what's wild is that going back to here and you're starting to see in 93, 94, Boy Meets World appears, which again, and I'm assuming this is its start now.
93, yes.
So like, is this like they're trying to make another megastar show? Like, it's funny they're building stars, kind of like I always think of wrestling, right? So it almost looks like they're building stars and seeing who sticks and whatnot, who's getting over.
And what they're doing is they're taking Fred Savage's brother, who Fred Savage was at the end of being super hot at the time. So they're like, there's nothing hotter than like a young Fred Savage in like the business. So they're like, well, now that he's too old, let's go for his younger brother and start it all over again, kind of thing.
Sure. And I mean, Boy Meets World turned into a huge success. But this is kind of where it started, and you kind of had Family Matters up front, that one Step by Step, and then Hanging with Mr. Cooper was kind of the end, and that kind of went on for like a couple of years, and then all of a sudden, that actually went on for a few years, actually, and then all of a sudden you start seeing, like, I see here that Boy Meets World's getting bumped around a little bit, and you're getting things like Sabrina the Teenage Witch pop in. You're seeing Clueless. I don't remember Clueless, the show. I have no recollection of that.
I do, but I remember that more on UPN, so I don't think it lasted long on this channel, and it went to UPN. But I used to watch it. They had so Cher was so a lot of the people from the movie came back, except for Cher. It was a different Cher.
I don't remember that at all. What year would this be? Like 95s?
Yeah.
96?
So,
that's
probably
why.
Movie, yeah, so Dee was back. And of course, Ty wasn't back. Ty wasn't even in the show. They would like show Ty sometimes, but she'd be like this, like she looked like she was homeless, like in the corner. It was weird, but it wasn't Brittany Murphy. Oh, and Pat Master drinking Liquid Death. Woo! I saw it. He asked about that.
That's it, baby. Yeah, so this is probably the time I started sliding out of it because I was getting older. Now, this was like the time where I can tell you exactly what I've been doing on a Friday night around this time would be every Friday night. It felt, obviously not in the winter, but I felt like everybody in the neighborhood now, we were all like preteens, and we would meet at a friend's house around like 7, 8 o'clock as soon as it got dark. And we'd have like these woods kind of like at the end of my neighborhood, and we'd play manhunt. And like literally it was always like, the neighborhood was the boundaries, and that was a pretty big neighborhood. So like we would split into 2 teams and we'd just go, and there'd be you'd have a team, and like this was insane because like we ran around the whole neighborhood, and like I can remember hiding in like people's bushes of like random people in the neighborhood. And I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, and someone would see us and they'd run, we'd be wrestling in someone's yard, like trying to get away and stuff. And I'm like, if I ever looked out my window and saw 2 teenagers hiding in my bushes, I'd be so freaking pissed.
Yeah.
Like you could never get away with that.
I know.
Now.
Yeah. Whenever you tell me about your neighborhood and stuff like that, it reminds me of Dennis the Menace, their neighborhood. Remember when they're all playing?
Yes.
And then that little
kind of like that.
And that little Gunther kid is like hiding in Mr. Wilson's yard. He's like, "Hey, get out of here!" He's over. It's like,
yeah.
Tell him to get out of
exactly. That's kind of how it was, and like. None of the neighbors gave a shit. Like they didn't even say anything to us. And then I even remember like, it'd be all done. It'd be around 10 o'clock. We'd be about to walk home. And then we'd like, just like lay in someone's yard and like, just like hang out and chit chat and stuff. And like the person's yard that we were in might not even have been anybody who we were playing with. It was just whatever yard we decided to like lay in. And like the person never came out and busted us. And we used to like ride bikes like around at like 10 o'clock at night around the neighborhood. It was craziness back then. And that's what I was doing around this time. So like these shows that are coming out right now, like even this one, Sabrina Teenage Witch, like is that the one with what's her name there? Melissa Joan Hart?
Yeah. So I never watched Sabrina, and I don't know why, because I must have been getting out of it as well. But I remember watching because I used to watch Boy Meets World, and yeah, it looks like dang, I can't believe they got rid of Family Matters already. Oh, it's 97. I guess that.
So Family Matters was like on its tail end, but they did get rid of Step by Step was gone.
They did, yeah.
Oh no, though it bumped it. No, in 96 it bumped to the 930 spot.
It did, yeah. And
so
yeah,
interesting.
I remember they brought Cody back to try to save the show, but it was canceled after his second show back.
Yeah, that is nuts because again, I wasn't a big Sabrina Teenage Witch person. I don't think I've ever seen. I've seen the show, but like maybe like in passing. Like I don't know anything. I just knew there was like a little cat or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like the cat would talk and whatnot. But it was a huge show. Like I know a lot of people loved it. I just never watched it. But yeah, do you remember the one guy from Perfect Strangers joined the cast of Step by Step as Jean-Luc? He was like a hairdresser. Yeah. So he plays another foreign guy. He was because they were Cody was fired from the show. And so
they say why?
Yes. It was so. At the time, he was fired for drugs, alcohol, and beating up his wife and his daughter. But he was brought back later on because they found out, once all the investigation, it was his wife that was doing all of it. It was his wife that was drunk on drugs and beating him and his. So but it kind of ruined his career. Because once you hear about that, maybe the people who heard that's not going to hear that. But yeah, he was accused of all that. He beat his wife up, but it later came out that it was her. So he had he ended up with full custody of his kids, and he had a restraining order against his wife. But it was kind of too late for his career. And
now, was he doing this show, and then after all this went down, he started doing those movies, like those like half-assed martial art movies, or I don't remember. Like when was Kickboxer 2 out?
It was all at the same time.
So he was like really getting hot, like in his own little world over there.
And then it just kind of after that. And like I said, they tried to bring him back, but it was too late for the show. Because obviously, if he did do it, he wouldn't have been brought back on the show, kind of thing. Justin,
1/3 of the Rad Pack, hanging out. Good to be here, brother. Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, I remember when that happened because Cody's my favorite character out of all of TGIF.
Of course, your mom named you after him, so I mean, I
get it. So yeah, I was very disappointed when he was gone, and then they brought in. I don't even remember this character, but my sister was telling me about this. His name was like Spaz or something, and I guess he was just like very spastic and stuff like that.
So it was like another like a weird Urkel type character where they're like, oh, let's make this guy like a spaz.
Yeah, and then he kind of disappeared, and then they brought in Jean-Luc. From Perfect Strangers.
I gotta get these seasons, man, because I would love to see that. Because like to me, I feel like you bring in a character Spaz, I feel like that show would be canceled in like 2 seconds now. Like
I know, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta see this. Like I really, really do, because that's just so crazy to me. Because again, I was out at this point. So, Boy Meets World was like the last big one that I remember checking out. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like it was getting popular. Clueless, I didn't see that one either. They're talking about other ones like at this point, like the late 90s. Teen Angel, I have no recollection of that at all. I mean, there's another show.
I do remember Two of a Kind.
I do remember the name, but what was it about?
The Olsen twins. So they brought the Olsen twins back.
Oh, see, they're being smart though, because they're like, okay, well, Full House worked on this thing, so let's just do that. Like, that's crazy.
And they were mega stars, man. When they were kids, those Olsen twins, they sold merchandise like no other.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I didn't know this. This might be a cool little.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because he appears on a number of different shows on TGIF.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm excited to check that out again.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I always like Suzanne Summers too. I thought she was
so
good.
Yeah, I had a huge crush on Suzanne Summers. And when I was a kid, I really liked Al. I had a huge crush on Al. You know, like the girl with backwards hat or whatever. Do you remember her?
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, she was
Like
kind of like a
tomboy?
tomboy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a good cast of characters on that show. Even some Beavis and Bonehead or whatever they call
Yeah. Yeah. But man, like I'll watch Step by Step now, and I laugh out loud. It's like, dude, this is funny stuff. And it's kind of like, it's like, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is JT? Like, JT is hilarious, man. He plays the part well. He was the kid from Warlock. Remember that he like gets killed off screen? He's like,
who is this
kid. JT.
Oh, I don't remember him being in Warlock.
Brandon Call. He's like playing basketball, and the Warlock comes up to him, and like kind of off screen, you know he's getting killed.
Oh shit, that's so funny. What a nice, like, great did you know tidbits over there. I love it.
Yeah, he was also in the movie Blind Fury. He was the kid in that.
Oh yeah, the one with what's his name there? That was like the blind cop. Whatever.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer. Yeah. But it's to me, I'm still just flabbergasted at like this thing lasted so long, and the shows they were able to build in this 10-year period that went on to just be like mega shows. Like not only the Step by Steps, but like Boy Meets World. Again, I was getting out of it then, so like I remember that show, but only to a certain extent. Like when they started to get older, like
college,
like I don't remember a lot of that. But I mean that show was a huge show. I mean, how long did that go on for? It feels like I remember them when they were little kids in middle school, and they turned into like college.
So I think Boy Meets World was kind of like the show that was keeping the whole TGIF afloat. And Boy Meets World ran from September 24th, 1993 to May 5th, 2000. So it ended in 2000. And I remember because I stopped watching it too, like when Matthew Lawrence got on the show. It had nothing to do with him. Wasn't he like his friend or something? Yeah, and I just remember he had like 2% body fat or whatever. I remember him always talking about his 2% body, or his low body fat or whatever. He was on there, and they went to college, and I kind of got out of it there. But I remember going back to the last episode when the last episode was airing. And it's like their wedding. It's Topanga and Corey's wedding. It's funny too because I remember watching that, and then after that, I remember watching the premiere of Mimic on HBO.
That's so funny.
It's like it's in my brain.
Now, was Sean gone at that point? Was he in the show like when Matt came on?
Who, Sean?
Yeah.
Sean was always on the show, I believe. Yeah, Sean was there. They just added a character. And that was a show that had some crazy episodes too, like Sean joining a cult. And
I remember all that.
Yeah, and then they had like Sean, he was homeless, or he wasn't homeless, but he lived in like a trailer, and his dad was a drunk.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
His dad was a drunk. And then so like the teacher was like his mentor, and his teacher got in a really bad like motorcycle accident.
I do remember that. I mean, there was a lot of shows like that. Like, the one that sticks in my head, I know it was not really a sitcom. It was more like a drama. Remember like 90210 when like Dylan's dad like blew up or whatever like that?
Yeah.
I remember like being a little kid and being like, what the heck,
Yeah.
But I met Ben Savage, and
that's awesome,
I had him sign my Little Monsters poster.
Dang, that's crazy.
So it's funny because I had the Little Monsters poster, but it's not Fred Savage, it's Ben Savage.
Ben Savage, that's funny. Dude, I want to go to one of these 90s cons or whatever that they're having, where they have like the whole cast is there. I saw an interview because I guess the cast of Boy Meets World hangs out a lot and does all these things, but I guess they haven't talked to Ben Savage. Ben Savage cut them off like in 2018 or something like that.
Oh, weird.
And I guess he's like running for mayor somewhere or something like that. But I was like, man, that kind of sucks because they were, a tight-knit group and stuff like that. But I would love to meet that cast. Topanga. I had a huge crush on Topanga as well.
Well, keep your eye on the 90s con. It's usually in March, I think, but it's here. It's close to me.
Oh, dang, yeah, I would love to go to a 90s con.
Yeah, I mean, if you get here, I mean, you could easily stay here or whatever. It's fine.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I'm like probably like an hour and 15 away from
Oh,
it.
nice. Have you been to one?
I haven't. I
Oh.
want to go every year, but I always feel like something comes up where, like, I think
Mhm.
last year I didn't go just because it was like a couple weeks before I was going to Kansas City or something like
Mhm.
that. So I didn't end up going, but
Yeah, they have like
yeah,
TLCs there. It's like, man, like
yeah.
anything you could think about of the '90s is there. It would be really.
Yeah, I think they did like I think this year was the Saved by the Bell reunion or something like that.
Yeah,
They had like Jesse was there, everybody was there.
oh dang,
So,
that's awesome. Where did you meet? Anyone who hasn't seen the picture of you and Jalea White, man, that is awesome.
me and the
Yeah,
Urkel.
you. Oh yeah, him and Urkel. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Here,
yeah, he was
I'm calling him by his real name over here.
you're kayfabing over there.
I know.
Yeah, no, that was at Rhode Island Comic Con. He was there a couple
Wow,
years ago.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, man. I feel.
And you know what? I'm gonna be quite honest, dude. He was like one of the nicest people I've
Was he?
ever met in my life. He was so nice. Like I can't even say anything negative about him. He was like the most down to earth, cool. You know, he's like, oh man, thank you so much. He's like, yo, let's like, he's like, you know. Then I saw him later, and he came over, and he's like, what's up, man? And he's like, you want to do another picture? I'm like, all right.
Dang,
And then, like, he
that's
did another one.
awesome.
Like, he was so nice, man. Like, he really, really was.
And I was
Probably
so
one of the nicest people I've ever met.
see, and I was so worried about him because I feel like he hates the Urkel character so much to where he outside of it, I feel like he would try to act to be, or, the way he acts would be like totally opposite. So like whenever you see him, so I didn't know if he'd just be a dick just so he could kind of, how Screech was, how like
Sure, yeah,
he wasn't very nice to people. He was trying to be so opposite of Screech. I was worried that would be the case with Jalea White.
He was so nice, and he was like, it was like meeting Stefan, basically.
Yeah, Stefan, man, those are some great episodes.
Oh, that was such a cool episode. Those were great because it's like you didn't, and especially as a little kid, it's like that whole you take the glasses off, and all of a sudden it's like he's like handsome guy, or whatever.
All of a sudden, yeah, and then like later on towards the end, they did something to where they were both could coexist, but I didn't really watch it then.
Because he had like didn't Urkel? Yeah, he has a machine or whatever. That
that machine where he can go in and become Stefan.
That is so funny. And like then Laura would like love Stefan, but then he'd go back to Steve or whatever. Yeah. Oh my god, think about like to keep this show running, like some of the wild shit they'd have to come up with, like. Let's make a machine where like he could turn into like a cool Steve.
Yeah,
because like they say he was so different in real life that it was just like it was nuts,
Yeah, and I think like while he was going through puberty, like it was just like, oh, like they told him not to work out, and because he was getting definition in his arms. I saw this in an interview. They told him he had to wear bigger pants because he was, because different, he was going through puberty and stuff like that. So it's like, dang.
Oh, a good one, Brian. I forgot about that. Remember the Urkel bot? That thing was legit, though.
The Urkel bot. Well, do you remember the Halloween episode where it's like the Urkel that was going to kill? Remember the doll comes to life? The Urkel doll comes to life.
It was like really creepy, kind of, right?
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah, the Halloween episode. It was pretty cool.
Camp Cucamonga. I never saw that.
Uh-uh.
Let me see. I remember losing it when Urkel laughing when Urkel brought the tiny car in the show.
Yeah, and it opened from the front. I remember that.
Stevel.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yes, because Ben actually remember he made that post or the reel, and it was like the TGI Halloween lineup, and it was in that. I think Ben was it you that was telling me that the next year they had a Carl doll, I think.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, he did. It was like a robot of Carl. I mean, it's crazy again just to think about that, and not only with the sitcoms and the Halloween episodes was so legit, man. Like, Roseanne, Home Improvement, like all these shows, the Halloween episodes were so good. And going back to what we were talking about before with like Urkel kind of being a secondary character that then became the main character, which the show basically centered around at that point. I kind of feel like that happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, with The Simpsons. Like I feel when I was a kid, Bart was like the main focus of that show. Everything revolved around Bart. But then as it started to progress, it was like Homer became the main character, right? And it was just wild because it just seemed like it wasn't in the plan, but it just kind of naturally worked out
that way. Yeah. And like I said, like that's what happened with like Urkel took over, and after a while, the show was supposed to be based off of Harriet's character and her family, so she left the show later on. So I can't remember what they did after that with I don't know how they explained. I don't know if they replaced her like in
like Fresh Prince or something.
Fresh Prince, yeah.
I don't know. They might have replaced her. I think. I don't remember
because I remember they the daughter, they got rid of the daughter in the like the younger daughter in
like they almost pretend that she didn't exist.
Yeah. There's a joke saying that she went upstairs and never came back down. But I
did hear about that.
Yeah, and I looked it up, and it was like season 5, like season 4. She was in the last episode, and then season 5 she was fired, or she was fired before they did, and I guess she was fired so they could make more room for Steve. But that was like season 5, so I don't know. I'm sure he was already a big part, but yeah, they got
like we need Stefan stuff. We need robot Steve. It was just so much going on. Brian says he loves, and I agree. I think this was so smart too. Like all the crossovers that they had, like Urkel would show up in different shows, and like you said, you even had Mr. Cooper and the dad from Step by Step do a crossover. They even had the friggin' what's his name from Fresh Prince show up on Family Matters.
Yeah, during the end credits or whatever. Yeah. But I saw that they had Urkel show up on the second episode of Step by Step, and what they did was on that night of block, like it makes sense when you're watching it live or whatever. So on their episode of Family Matters, he's in a jetpack and he flies through the roof, and you see him flying over like over Chicago, and then an hour later he lands during Step by Step while they're having a picnic. He lands on their picnic table, and that starts the episode there. Exactly. You're like, what? Oh my gosh, he's there.
Yeah, and I mean, again, if for whatever reason, you like him, and then check out that show to see if it was just very smart marketing that they did.
Yeah.
And like, somebody brought up something here that dude, I agree. His girlfriend in that show was better looking than Laura was.
Oh my god, yeah,
so good looking. I used to remember because remember she used to love him, and he would kind of like keep her off, and I'm like, what is he doing? Like she's way nicer looking.
She passed away really young too.
Oh, she did, didn't she?
Like some kind of like stomach issue or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, she passed away like before she was 30.
I forgot about that. What was her name in the show?
I wanted to say. I saw it like 100 times last night.
You watched one with her?
No, I did not watch anything with her, but when I was reading about her.
Wow, I forgot that she passed away. I do remember when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I guess like I think in real life, they were dating in real life.
Who, Steve and her?
Steve and her were, during the show, yeah. Myra, Ben Grimm says.
That's right. That's
Myra,
right.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
But it's like you can't even have a character like Urkel anymore. Like somebody who's like constantly pursuing a girl like that. He's she's saying no, but he's still coming back.
Oh, of course.
You can't have that Pepe Le Pew anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, same with like a Screech. How he's like trying to get after Lisa Turtle. You can't have that kind of comedy anymore. But I don't know if you remember this, but the second episode, because I watched this last night, and this was the episode I remember the most of hanging with Mr. Cooper. But I didn't know it was the second episode. But the second episode, he's like a substitute teacher. So he's teaching a kindergarten class, and it's Michelle's class.
I do remember that crossover.
Yeah, so like Michelle and her two friends. Miko Hughes is on it. He plays Aaron. Anyways, he's like on the desk and he falls on and breaks his ass or whatever. So he like ruins his night. So Uncle Jesse brings Michelle over to apologize. So like he's on there. It's
so crazy. Killer, dude. That is, I mean, I love it. So smart, man. It's so smart marketing. I mean, it's almost like they're giving like these big shows, they're giving these small shows rubs, and it's huge, to kind of be like, this is a cool show. Like we're on this,
Yeah. And then Urkel shows up on Full House.
You Kids on the Block showed up at Full House.
The newer one didn't, and Fuller House, right?
I don't know. Was it? I think both. I think back and recent. I think back in the day and recent.
Oh, nice.
I think There was a couple different stars that showed up on the back in the day ones. I'm trying to think who it was, but like I'm pretty sure they did both, and that's why they came back.
They came back with a new one, yeah.
Yeah. What the heck? Netstalker kind of random, but yeah, it is. That's the word on the street is that it's going to get re-released. The Steelbook is.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
What do I think the last great sitcom was? I don't watch a lot of them. Like I know a lot of people love Raymond a lot.
I know the last 90s sitcom to end was King of Queens, and that show was hilarious.
King of Queens, that people like that one. I mean, I don't know if this would be considered a sitcom or not just because of the way it is, but I mean, I'm a huge fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, I'm a humongous fan of that. I don't know if you'd call that a sitcom. I think The Goldbergs is a really good show.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot, which, again, I haven't really been watching much of it, but I watched those. I basically watched up until Freddy, like, nonstop.
Okay,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I watched it to the end. Like, it ended, like, last year. So it is? Yeah. So it went 10 years. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a good show. But you know what show actually surprised me is Mom. That has some really deep issues. That's ended too. So it's with Allison Hannigan, or Allison Jennings, and the girl from Scary Movie.
Oh yeah. I do remember the one.
Yeah,
she was like a mother and daughter kind of thing. Or no?
Yeah, and they're in AA, so it's like about them like trying to.
I do remember.
Yeah, and like, dude, people die in the show like from like drug overdose. It's a pretty wild show. And it's pretty funny too. But that's probably the last sitcom that I've seen that's really, really funny.
People like this one. I've never seen Always Sunny. I've never seen that, and I've never seen what's the nerdy one with the kid from Roseanne?
Big Bang Theory. That was a good show too.
I've never seen that either. So
a
lot of these could be great. I just haven't watched them.
Yeah. I love Big Bang Theory, but I know that Justin has a deep hatred for it, and I don't know why, but he hates.
Does he really?
Big Bang Theory? Yes, I remember him mentioning that. But yeah, but Always Sunny, man, that's a show that I'm surprised they're able to make. Like, it's just like they have an episode called "Is It Racist?" and they're just going around, like.
Really?
It's a hilarious show.
What was the show? I watched the show. I didn't watch the show, but I watched this one because William Zabka kept making appearances in it. What was that called? It was a more recent one over the last 10 years. Before Zabka went back to Cobra Kai, he played himself, and like this guy on the show was obsessed with him. He was like he was like his friend or something like that. What show was that? How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, okay. I have not seen it. That looks like a great show, but I have not seen it.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I only watched that season with Zabka in it, but it was a pretty cool little show. Right. But I don't watch a lot of new shows. But I mean, there's probably some good ones out there, but I'm sure it's hard to even do a lot of this stuff now. But like you said, they are still getting into some deeper issues.
Yeah. And I think like stuff like, like the sitcoms where they have like the laugh tracks or the live audience, I think people don't really want to see, because I see like Netflix has shows like that come out, and I feel like they just don't work well on like Netflix or stuff like that. But there are some shows, like I know George Lopez just started a new show. That's okay. But shows get canceled before they can even get their legs to.
Sure. It's hard nowadays, I think. I think it's just a whole different era, which is crazy. Somebody mentions Mama's Family. I remember that show.
I saw that she was just at some con and she was taking pictures in costume.
It was
Vicki Lawrence.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Brian. Yeah, it was originally TGIF. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have cool NECAs coming out that I ordered.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, I think it's getting popular again.
You know what else was? I'm trying to think of just old sitcoms that came around at that time where like you had the Ellen one. Remember the Ellen?
Yeah, Ellen. Yeah.
Show. Mm-hmm. And then remember the one? It was so random now to think about. Grace Under Fire.
Grace Under Fire. Yeah, I remember
that one. Was like I have no recollection of what it was about, except it was just like a blonde woman. Like I don't remember like what it was about. I just remember.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she like left her husband with her kids, so it's like her trying to like start over.
So funny because I just remember that having like a prime spot and like like a weeknight, and all of a sudden it's just like kind of coming and going.
Well, it was canceled because she was like really into like alcohol and stuff. And I know,
really?
Yeah, it was canceled. Well, there's a good episode, like, you know how there's Dark Side of the Ring?
Mm-hmm.
They have a show called Dark Side of Comedy, and there's a whole episode about her.
That's funny, man. Yeah, that was definitely one that I was watching a lot. And people talking about Spin City.
Yeah, I never saw Spin City.
I didn't really watch it that much either. Wings was another one that was kind of around at the time. Mad About You were ones that were around.
Yeah, Wings. I love Wings.
Like hot wings or buffalo wings?
Both.
You should do a video. You should do a video eating wings, watching wings.
Watching Wings, yeah.
That would be sick.
Yeah, Wings was awesome. I love that show. And Night Court, remember Night Court?
I remember Night Court, yeah.
And Night Court just came back with like a new. It's not as good though. Not as good.
Yeah, no, for real. You know what? I'm trying to think. There's a lot of these other shows like I never got into, like The Nanny.
Yeah,
I didn't really get into that one. But man, it was such a good time back then with all those, because like they were just like you said, it was just they would pop out of nowhere and they would get popular for a little bit and then they would kind of end. Do you remember this one? And we'll get back to the kind of tail end of TGIF because I see somebody mention one that's we're going to talk about in a second. There was one, I bet Brian Goes Blue knows this one. Obviously, me being like a 14, 15-year-old kid, I used to love it. I don't know the name of it, but there was a girl. What the heck was it called? A really, really attractive girl was like the main star of it. And it was like a sitcom, and I don't even know what the hell it was about. I can't remember her name, and I don't know what channel it was on. What if anybody knows around like the mid 90s? Man, I wish I knew the name of the show or the name of the actress, but I just remember like always watching the show. She'd always have like a low cut blouse on all the time.
Dang, I cannot think.
You'd probably know it if you saw it. I don't even know who she is. She might still be around. I don't know. I haven't seen her. She was probably like in her 20s, but she was like the main star. And like, there was like a family. She played like the older sister. No, it wasn't Blossom. It was after that. It was later. Like maybe like.
Like, are you thinking of like 8 Simple Rules?
I don't think that was the name of it, but no, it wasn't Charles in Charge. It was later than that. It was probably like
mid 90s.
Mid 90s. I'm thinking. You guys can let me know. We'll keep talking about it, but
it was Married with Children. But I know that's
but it was very similar to that show. I think in tone.
Huh.
It's very similar to Married with Children in tone, and I think it might have been on like a weird channel, like it's not Perfect Strangers. But I'll find out before the end of the night. I'll try to look it up. But I want to just kind of finish up because we're at the tail end now. Like, we're these ones that are coming out that it's just wild. Like the Sabrina, Boy Meets World, they're like the big ones, which is weird because then you had Teen Angel. I don't know anything about it. Two of a Kind. You said you remember that one. I don't remember that one. Brothers Keeper. I don't remember. Dude, this is it. Unhappily Ever After. That's what it was called.
Okay, Unhappily Ever After.
That was the one.
Oh, Nikki Cox. I remember that. Yeah,
that was like
she ended up getting a spin-off show called Nikki, and her husband was a professional wrestler, and Macho Man was on it. They like lived in Vegas.
Way.
Yes, yeah, and Macho Man was on it. He was like wrestling her husband. Yeah, it's called Nikki. It was like maybe lasted a season.
Oh, dude, I freaking loved Unhappily Ever After, and it was funny because Ben Grimm says it was basically UPN's version of Married with Children.
Yeah, he would talk like it was like a sock puppet or whatever, or was it like it was voiced by Bobcat Goldstein? Yeah.
You guys rock, dude. You guys rock. I knew Brian would know that one. And definitely
yeah,
Ben Grimm. He's in the mix. He knows everything, this guy.
Yeah.
Look at he knows everything. Look.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah. But yeah, man, definitely I think you'd like Nikki, her spin-off show. That was on UPN with her wrestler boyfriend, or wrestler husband.
I'm gonna have to look it up and see if any of those are on physical.
Yeah.
But did you know what? I looked at this one and I'm like, you know what? I remember this, I think, or maybe I don't. Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza Place.
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't know that he was on that. Like, I may have watched it, but I didn't know who Ryan Reynolds was then. And by the time I knew who Ryan Reynolds was, I didn't remember. But the girl, to me, I'm like, I know this girl, but was she in other movies?
I don't remember who the girl was.
If anybody knows that guy, a girl in a pizza place. There was a blonde girl in it with short hair. And I know her. So it's either I watched the show or I know her from movies.
And I don't think the show lasted long. And I remember them changing the title of it too. To like maybe just 2 guys and a girl. I don't know. But yeah, I remember 2 guys, a girl in a pizza place. I never watched it, but I remember Ryan Reynolds being on it.
And it's
But
funny,
I didn't know who Ryan Reynolds was back then, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it gets crazy. So like, that's basically kind of it. You had those. And then like it said, that was 99. And then like in the 2000s, it's saying like the Hughleys, Boy Meets World, Odd Man Out, and then it's even saying Making the Band. Like what?
Yeah, like, and then it went to MTV, or was it on MTV first? Remember with Puff Daddy making the band?
With what was the name of the group? The band?
Was it O-Town? Wasn't it O, or was it something?
Oh, else? Well, there was there was 2. There was O-Town, but then there was the P Diddy Making the Band, which was like they were called the band.
Okay, didn't they have one with Dandy?
Then they had Dandy. Yeah, I think that was the 3rd season.
Okay, yeah. All I remember is them like he makes them like walk to like to get cheesecake in New York City in the middle of the night.
That's where I know the girl from. She was the girl in Dirty Work.
Okay,
good call, man. That's like one of my favorite comedies. So it's exactly where I know her from. So I may have never seen this show, but when I saw the girl, I'm like, oh, I definitely know this girl. Exactly. That's exactly it. Yes, perfect. But yeah, that was kind of like the tail end. You started getting like George Lopez on there for a little bit, and then I guess it must have just kind of died out around 2000. And I personally just don't know if anything's really been the same since. I mean, at least for kids, right? Like I don't know. I know like what was the other one? Like CW used to do like some block shows and stuff like that, and they had their own thing. But like, nothing that I recommend or that I recall.
Yeah, there's like they had shows like the Wayans brothers, and then like Living Single was on another. I don't know if you watched Living Single. That was a good show with Queen Latifah.
No, I didn't watch it, but I know the name.
It was kind of like it started before Friends. It was kind of like the black version of Friends. It was good. I liked it a lot. But yeah, there's Martin. Did you ever watch Martin?
I did. I liked Martin. Oh yeah.
Martin was good. I remember Keith Sweat being on Martin. That was a big episode for me.
Did he? Was he? I don't remember that.
No, he played a cop. He was like doing a stakeout. They had to stay in like I think it was Pam's apartment or something, and he had to do a stakeout. He was watching a murderer across the street or something. So he was reprising his role from the Twisted video.
Oh, dude, that's like the best video.
Yeah. Then I remember. Yeah, I know, me too. And I remember Keith Sweat was on the Wayans brothers. He was like an actor or something. And
was he really?
Yeah, Marlon was. They were doing like some kind of play or something.
I loved this show too, by the way, when I was like a teenager.
Dharma
I liked Dharma and Greg. I liked her a lot back then. I don't know what her name is though. She was in she was in Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah. She dressed as an angel. Yeah.
When did Fresh Prince end? I'm not sure when it ended.
95, I think.
Do you remember what the sign-off episode was for that? Like,
they were selling the house, and I remember Donald Trump was on there, and he was going to buy the house. So they were buying the house and moving somewhere.
Huh.
Yeah, because I remember the episode. Yeah, the very last shot is like the whole house is empty, and what's his name turns off the light.
Oh yeah,
and then Carlton runs down the stairs with his pants down because he was going to the bathroom. And and then he's like, I'm gonna miss you. And that's when what's his name officially calls Will by his real name instead of like because he called him Master Will or whatever. So that's when he called him or Master Williams or something like that. So he was finally off because he wasn't gonna. He was done. So he finally shakes his hand and calls him by his real name.
That's interesting. Yeah, I remember when they shut the lights off in the house. But yeah, that's cool. I remember Fresh Prince was a great show. Remember when like all of a sudden they got a little older and they had like that second house where like him and Carlton would live like off.
The pool house. Yeah, it was the pool house.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Man, I just want to go back and just like binge these damn things, but I just feel like with shows, it's like it's gonna take freaking forever for me to get through like 10 seasons of something. It's like that's like weeks and weeks worth of content.
And they had like 24 episodes a season back then. Like something like Always Sunny, they have like 12 episodes, sometimes 8 episodes a season. So
we haven't talked about Frasier. I remember Frasier, but it wasn't one I watched a lot.
I saw it's coming back too. Frasier.
Is it really?
I think on Hulu or something like that. But yeah, it's coming back.
That is awesome. I mean, so again, that was our rundown on TGIF, and what I'm excited about is, Cody said a lot of these shows are going to be coming out on physical media, so keep your eyes out for that if you guys want to go back and binge these things, because I don't have HBO Max. I mean, I could get it, but if I can just snag these things or whatever, I might as well, because it's funny sometimes that these shows, if you don't get them streaming and you just buy them, they're so expensive to buy. Like, you're better off just buying the whole series for what it would cost to like buy one season if you bought it on streaming. That's true too. I guess you're right, Brian. He said you can easily kill about 3 episodes an hour, so it's not too bad. Yeah, you know what? I forgot that they're just short episodes, about 20 minutes.
22 minutes, yeah.
So that's not too bad. But I mean, again, I would just add it to the table of things that I need to watch.
Things I know.
Dude, I got a whole stack over here. It's insane of things that I need to watch. And I mean, a lot of these movies I've seen, it's just like, I got the new Changeling in 4K I haven't checked out yet. It's just like a lot of these upgrades and stuff I haven't watched. But I mean, I know as soon as I start throwing in a show, though, I'm going to like binge it and not get to any of this stuff even longer. So,
well, that's how it was last night. That's how it was last night. I was like, I want to watch a couple of the episodes until of Family Matters until Urkel comes in. I was on like episode 4, and I was like, when does he come in? I was like, episode 13. Oh my god! So I skipped over, So I watched like 5 episodes of that and skipped to 13. I was like, dang, man. And then I watched first couple episodes of Hang with Mr. Cooper, and then I was gonna watch a couple episodes of Step by Step. But man, I ended up watching like 6 episodes of Step by Step.
Man, I'm excited to check that out. Now, let me see. CMC says that my all-time favorite show is Seinfeld. Personally, I like Seinfeld. I think it's show like Friends, and what's funny is I started watching Friends, but I got out of it. So like I've seen a lot of it now just on reruns, but back in the day, like I was into it, but I like kind of stopped watching it around like the last thing I really remember is like Marcel the Monkey was there. I remember like
that's early.
Rachel, like they kept where they were like, I think it was like, I remember seeing them like kiss for the first time or something like that. Like I remember all that stuff. And then I haven't seen, I had to go back and kind of watch some of the newer stuff like now because it's on all the time.
Yeah. Friends is my all-time favorite show. It goes like Friends, Simpsons, Seinfeld, The Office. Like those are my favorite shows that like I can rewatch and just laugh my ass off.
Office is good. I didn't watch that when it was live, but I bought them all and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Brian goes blue. Dude, I cannot even tell you how many Visual Vengeance things I have to watch. I've got like 4 of them or whatever.
Dang.
How many movies do I watch a week? Not enough, Netstalker. Like
Same
I'm
here.
probably, I don't know, 3 maybe. Maybe even less than that.
I find myself watching more YouTube than movies lately, and I'm like, oh, great.
It's hard for me to even do that because like with my what I do for work, like I have no access to any of that stuff. Like, I can't, I'm not in it like a computer or a desk or a car where I can like listen. So like to be honest, I'm so backed up on YouTube stuff, like, because when I'm not working, it's like, I've got a show more or less, or like, so I don't have a lot of time to do it because I work nights. I work like Mondays, I get out of work. I'm home by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, but then I have to be up at like 3:45 in the morning. So like Mondays, I don't do a show, but I come home and I eat, throw on like Raw for like an hour, and then I'm in bed. It's like, then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm usually doing some kind of show or whatever. So I don't get to watch a lot, surprisingly. And it's hard to kind of squeeze them all in, YouTube shows and, movies. So,
With that said, we appreciate you hanging out with us on your Friday night and watching us.
Of course. Of course. I mean, we really do. Like, we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's a Friday night. This guy says Friday nights are where things go to die. So the fact that you guys are hanging out wherever you are right now, watching us do this, I mean, totally grateful and thankful, especially because, again, this is only our 2nd episode together. We're still kind of trying to feel out the formats and stuff like that. And I think I know you guys have liked it since we only had 1 episode. So hopefully, again, it's out of the norm. It's something different than you're usually getting on my channel as far as the content. It's not horror. It's not movies. Like, we're just doing a lot of random stuff, like stuff that maybe other people aren't talking about. And we're both 90s lovers. So that's kind of where we're at when it comes to this. And somebody just asked, what's episode 3? I don't know, man. We've talked about a couple different things. We've talked about something special, like what was that one that we just talked about? The one, the 80s, the new 80s movie there, the one that you were in.
Oh, Take Me Home Tonight.
Take Me Home Tonight. We could talk about that. Like, I mean,
yeah, I was like, what 80s movie was I in? But
yeah, dude, I think that's a friggin' awesome movie. No one ever talks about it.
Yeah, it's a great movie, man. A fun time. I was on set for 3 weeks, man. So
that is cool. Like, I would love to talk about that. We could talk about Bingo. I mean, dude, whatever. Bring it.
Nobody knows Bingo. Nobody knows Bingo, but it's like my most 90s poster.
It's so cool looking. Bingo's kind of weird too, because isn't it at the beginning of the movie like the kid naked or something? I
don't even remember, but like I think in my mind is like his dad was like a kicker for like the Detroit Lions or something. So I think that's really and like I'm somebody who loves Lions, so I was like, oh, that's really cool. But yeah, I used to watch it times.
You like the Lions? The Detroit Lions?
I'm from Detroit.
Do you remember when Home Improvement used to go, how about those Lions?
Yeah.
That means like I love you or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, because it was in Michigan. It was set in Michigan because that's where he's originally from. Tim Allen.
Would we do a favorite? And we could. I mean, that's the thing with this kind of show. Like we can touch upon all that stuff. I mean,
yeah, like there's Snick. There's there's like Saturday morning cartoons. All kinds of different things we could talk about.
Do I live in my parents' basement? This is my house, homeboy. This is my house.
He lives in a studio apartment, and that's all. That's just all he has. He's sitting on the edge of his bed.
I sleep on that couch. That is so funny. Yeah, I mean, guys, obviously, one thing I'll say too is you guys have been so killer with the shirts, like buying the shirts, posting the shirts. They're hot items, and to just show your support to a show that's only had 2 episodes or 1 by the time that this came out. We super appreciate it. So obviously you guys can go to shop.onerad.com and you can get your Rad Dude shirts. And when Cody makes his own shop, we can throw those in his shop as well. Because there's so much he can do with the dude name. I'm sure there's probably a bunch of cool things. He can do. But yeah, man, I mean, we definitely try to do these more often because it seems like people want them. And it's just coming up with different concepts. Like, I mean, we could do Snick. I mean, that's another one that I would love to kind of dive deep into in the same concept where we can go through like all the different year by year and like what's changed, and I love the fact that, again, that Cody, who's younger than me, he had all these details that I didn't know, like that shows, got bought out by different companies or what happens, because it is interesting to kind of see. And I didn't even realize too, like he said, is that the way they did it, where they put 2 big shows at the top of the hour to get the 2 little shows some views, and man, that worked so well for them. Like it was such a great concept that like just really worked, because those secondary shows then became the big shows, and then they could sell the big shows for money to get new little shows. Like it was just a very smart business tactic. Yeah.
And it like you said, like they were just so many random shows. They were taking chances back then.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. Look at Pat Massa. Thanks, man. It's gonna get a little Rad Dude ski shirt.
Awesome, man. Take a picture, send it to us, let us know.
Disney Afternoon.
Yeah, did you watch Disney Afternoon, like Darkwing Duck and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers? Or
oh yeah. I was thinking I didn't have the Disney Channel, but yeah, that like Tailspin and all them stuff shows. Oh yeah, I definitely want. Like I was a big Rescue Ranger guy, but I mean, I didn't. I don't like Tailspin. I remember it, but I didn't watch it a lot. Darkwing Duck, I remember it, but I didn't watch it a lot. So I was like kind of as like on the tail end of like that whole thing.
Yeah,
I was probably watching Baywatch around that time, to be honest with you.
Because it's crazy. It's crazy because like like in the 90s, because you are a little older than me, but it's crazy how like a year or 2 can make a huge difference at that age.
Right.
you know, I may be watching Darkwing Duck while you're watching Baywatch. You know, I haven't
Correct.
got there yet. Just like when I was a kid, like when Britney Spears came out, I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, she was an adult to me. Now she's only 4 years older than me. I'm like, did she stop aging? You know, she just stayed the same age kind of thing. So it's
when she came out, she was my age. So that was even
Uh-huh.
more like, you know, when she for me, I mean, I was obsessed with her when I was like a senior in high school and she had just debuted or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I was like, who is this? You know, I was totally, it's crazy to me because I was very, very obsessed with Britney Spears.
So,
then. Like,
so was I.
She was like I thought she was like the best looking thing ever. Like, but you know what's so funny? Like
Rad Dudes Part 3, Britney Spears.
Versus Britney Spears. But it's wild, man, because they're like, she's so different now. And it's confusing to me because I'm like, did Hollywood do this or was she always this way? But like, I don't look at her like I looked at her back then.
Oh yeah, she was the big, like, yeah, like I said, like when she came out, I was like, oh my goodness, who is this lady? You know, and to me, she was so much older than me. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I think, you know, who's this older lady? But now she's only like, what, 4 years older than me.
You could actually have a chance with her right now. Like that's how like close that this is, you know?
Exactly. But like if my mindset was the same as it was back then, she'd be like 50 something, you know?
Sure. Things are very different. I mean, she's single now. She's not going to be able to tell you're 4 years younger than her. This could happen right now.
Exactly. Now I look 50.
She could be at the Halloween convention. You talk to her and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, things can happen.
You never know.
Now, did I miss something? Did they announce Jamie Lee Curtis?
No, I think people just want her there.
Oh, I saw that somebody post something like she's coming home and I'm like, is she going to be there?
I think it's a hashtag they want her to see. And then she'll be, oh, okay, I'll come do it. But with the strike, I don't think she wants to touch anything like that, you know.
Good call. Because then I saw somebody else post, why are people complaining that Jamie Lee Curtis is $250? And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Is she
I mean, unless they announced it and I didn't see it, but I feel like I would have known, but I think I would have got that information.
You probably would have got an email or something.
Yeah, I would have got an email or something. Yeah, because I get email updates on it. But I do want to say something. This come up in a lot of streams because I've been talking about Friday the 13th. Do you know who Willa Ford is?
It was like that. She was in the remake.
Yeah, she was in the remake. Anyways,
she was a singer too. Yeah.
So she came out a couple years after Britney Spears, and I remember being like, "Oh my goodness!" Like I aged 3 years after she came out. she had a song called "I Want to Be Bad" with Royce da 5'9".
Oh yeah, I want to be bad.
Yeah, that song and video changed my life. I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
It was a wild time back then.
Yeah,
the pop game was going on, you know.
And then as I get older, I'm like, she kind of disappeared, and I'm, I go back to listen to that song. And I'm like, I know, how did I not realize that was Royce da 5'9" that was in the song? You know, I guarantee you, he'd be like, oh my, yeah, from Shady, you know.
Yeah, of course.
It's wild, man.
Was he the one who did Scary Movie with him? Was that Royce da 5'9"?
Yeah, Bad Meets Evil.
That's a great one, man. Love that. Who's married to the Iceman?
Huh?
Oh, UFC fighter.
Oh,
Willa Ford is.
Oh, Willa Ford is. Okay,
I did not know that. But when is your Halloween convention? October?
It's the end of September.
I'm going to Silver Scream tomorrow.
Tomorrow, nice. Anybody big or who are you meeting there?
Well, there's a lot of cool people there, but then I was like on the fence. Like a lot of the people that are there, I've already met. So for me, it was going to be like a double dip. And I was kind of on the fence of what I was going to do. Like Tom Atkins was one because I'm like, you know what? I've got Tom Atkins' autograph. I've met him a couple times, but he's getting really old and he canceled today. So that totally takes that up. Yeah. Okay. So he bounced. So, I mean, I had a fog poster, Dave Vanderhoff I don't know if he's still in the chat, but he made me like that piece of wood from the fog. I was thinking about maybe getting that signed, but he canceled, so that saves me that. Alex Vincent and the girl Kyle from Child's Play 2 were going to be there.
Christina Lee.
So a part of me is like, maybe I'll get them on like my poster. Some people are saying maybe I should bring the Jack in the Box. I mean, maybe. But I got to start making decisions now because I mean, it's tomorrow. But it's crazy because I have Alex Vincent's autograph so many times and I'm like, do I really need Alex Vincent's autograph like 5 times? Like, do I really need his autograph in my collection 5 times? It's Alex Vincent, you know. But
you see me, I'm a sucker because I'm a huge Child's Play fan. So whenever I do run into him, I do get his autograph. So I do have his autograph on a lot of things. I don't need it, but I do. But like things like, you know, that Jack in the Box, I'm always wearied of having stuff signed like that. That's not like a box or anything, because I don't want it to rub off. Because I have a DVD cover, which I don't like being signed, but I have a DVD cover of the Marine signed by John Cena. And I went to go wipe it off with a Swiffer because it was dusty, and like it took off some of the, and I was like, oh my goodness. So now I have to like blow out, you know, so I was like, man,
again, one of those like the Jack in the Box, that might be tricky because it's like a slick surface too, you know?
So it could just, rub off somehow.
It's funny. Netstalker says you need a Sean. I have a Sean Clark auto.
So do I. I just got one on this past July.
Yeah,
he signed a Halloween 3 poster for me.
Oh, that's so funny. I have like a picture of him with holding like a pumpkin sitting at like the Halloween. It was for Hallowed Ground.
Yeah, Horror Hallowed Ground. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's so funny. He's at every convention. Yeah, I've seen Alex Vincent so many times. I mean, nice guy, no doubt, but
I always feel bad too because he doesn't have a big line either, and he's not very expensive compared to other people.
He isn't. There was this running joke that my friend had back in the day, and again, he's actually kind of gotten more love because of the new Child's Play stuff. But this was even before all that, and we'd see him at all the conventions, and I can remember it was like a Sunday or something. And we looked over, and he was like, there was nobody at his table. And like, you know, when you like, you can see somebody like staring off into space or something, like he must have caught his eye on something on the floor. And he was kind of just like, and then like, we got like an autograph from like Miko Hughes or whatever. And all of a sudden we're turning around, and my buddy's like, dude, Alex Vincent's still looking at the floor. So we look over, and he was like, same spot, dude. So we were like laughing, and we left. Then we came back around like later in the afternoon. He goes, dude. And he didn't have anybody at his table again. My friend goes, dude, Alex Vincent just has put a sign on this thing that says all autographs half off. I'm like, no, he didn't. And like, no, he didn't really did it.
He did. Oh, okay. I was
like, no, he really didn't. So I go, no. I go, are you fucking? I'm like, are you shitting me? And I look over, and my friend's like, no, he didn't, dude. He's like, that would have been so sick if he did. I know. Like, that would have been so sad, dude.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but he's always been really nice when I've met him. But it's like, yeah, it's one of those things like. And now, like, I might have paid $20. I think at this convention, he's like 50 or 60, maybe. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to drop that. I mean,
I think he's 60. 60 is pretty cheap now.
Of course.
But if you're used to getting, because I got Brad Dourif's autograph, he was only 30 back in the day. That was like 8 years ago. 2015 is when I started this. And that's when Andy or Alex Vincent was 20 then.
Mm-hmm. That's what, Brian said the same thing.
20,
yeah. That's funny, dude. I go to Chiller all the time. Cody, I haven't watched the new Chucky at all.
I don't think he's going to. I think
an autograph now is like 60 or more.
Yeah, 60 is pretty cheap for an autograph, which that's what Nev Campbell was. So I was kind of surprised. I think she was 60 when I met her last year.
The only other person I'm thinking about getting tomorrow is probably. So Joe, Bob, and Darcy are supposed to be there tomorrow.
They'd be cool to meet.
And I've never met either of them. And I have a poster, like a really cool poster with them on it. And I'm like, maybe I'll get them, but I don't know. I'll bring it, and then I'll kind of probably just decide when I'm there. But TerraCon's next weekend, and there's a ton of stuff I want to get there. So I may just save and then just walk around. But there's a lot of people like.
I think Mizzy's going, right?
Gonna be there. Yeah, Durant's going.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to meet up with a lot of those people there tomorrow, and just for the first time. So, I mean, I'll probably pop in and just say what's up to them. But
I want to for 1980s Betamax. Justin Whalen, he's like a social studies teacher now, so I don't think he does cons or anything like that. So he's not even. That's why you don't see him in interviews for Shout Factory or anything like that.
Is he the dude from part 3?
Yeah, grown up Andy. Yeah, or 16-year-old Andy. Not grown up Andy.
Sure.
But yeah,
it's it's tough. Conventions are hard now. I mean, they're fun, but
Mhm.
you got to be prepared. It's pricey. You know, you really have to.
I
Like
know.
they just announced for Rhode Island Comic Con, they're doing a Breakfast Club reunion. Speaking of Brian goes
Oh
blue,
man.
and I mean, my friend texted me. He goes, "Dude, how do I pay for all this?" I'm like, "You gotta start saving now or something, man, because it's expensive." I mean, luckily, I've already gotten
Well,
a bunch of them already. But I mean, if they do a big group picture, like I would love to pay the money and do that, you know, and do the pose or something like
yeah,
that.
and it's just they're getting really weird with it. Like they used to be like, okay, say you pay $80, they'll sign anything and sign whatever you want. But now it's like it's starting at 80, and then it's like when I met Robert England the last time, which was super hard to meet, and I had VIP passes and everything. So he would sign an item. He would only sign 2 items from people, and he won it. It was like $120 for his signature. And if you wanted him to say something that was more than 5 words, it would be like another $60. So it's like, so you're sitting there, be like, prime, welcome to Prime. You're like counting. You're like, is that?
It's crazy, man. It really is, and it's like it's to a point where we're big fans of these people, and we want to have this in our collection because it means a lot to us. But I mean, there is a point where it's they're gouging the fans hard. Like,
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
small posters to bigger posters.
sure,
Why?
that's the part that pisses me off. Like, I remember I was gonna get I've met Anthony Michael Hall before, so I have his autograph twice. So I was gonna meet him on the 3rd time, and I had the Halloween Kills poster. I'm like, that would be cool to have a Halloween Kills. Oh no, you know what I had? I had a bat. I had the bat, the with the name on it. What the hell bat does he use in Kills?
Oh yeah, bat. Yeah,
I have that replica bat.
Oh, okay.
It's called something. It's engraved in it.
Yeah,
and I was gonna have him sign the bat, but it was like, $60 for autograph, prop, plus 40. I was like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
what does it matter what I've got in my hand? Like,
see, the first time I saw that happen was back in 2020. I met Carl Weathers, and his autograph was like $60, which is fine. But if you wanted anything 3D, like a Funko Pop or a boxing gloves, which everybody had boxing gloves, it was $300.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah, you should have seen everyone in line walk out of line. They're like, "Oh, I'm not." It's because like I feel bad because like, they're all there excited. They had boxing gloves, but they're the normal person can't, or I should say normal. The average person can't drop $300 for Carl Weathers, unless like
I mean, I wouldn't, and I would love to. I would love to get him, but I couldn't. I mean, it's, and you think about it, and you go back, and you're like, but what if they pulled their prices down? Would they rather go for quantity though? You know what I mean? Like, or do they not want to do all the work? Because there might be a point where you might actually charge less, but make more at the end of the day, because more people will be like, oh, you know what? I have an extra $40 in my pocket. I'll go get this guy. That's
why the Scream, like the 4 Scream people, like the Nev, Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, they're like around $60, but their lines are
I mean, that's a steal for them.
Yeah, because Nev Campbell could easily charge $120.
Of course, definitely,
easily,
definitely. So, I mean, that's another thing we could do a whole show on conventions if we.
I know. Well. Oh yeah, and I do want to say that Carl Weathers was extremely nice when I met him, but it was just like once you get to his table, you're like, God dang, man. And I also had a problem with him. I had him signing something, and I wanted him to use a certain color, and he's like, oh no, this is gonna look better. So, all right, like I was like, okay, buddy.
It's tough. I have some great stories. I would love to do a show on it because I've got some funny stories about meeting people and stuff like that, and some people messing up items, and it's crazy. So it's always a little stressful going to these conventions. Like that's why I always have to be so prepared. Like I bring my own poster, I bring my own marker. And sometimes, like you said, some people don't want to do it, but the worst is when someone uses their marker that's like running out of ink, and it's like you get their autograph, but it's already faded, and you're like, dude, this thing's gonna be gone in like 2 years. It's gonna be completely vanished.
Yeah. So, well, and then like a lot of times, like I'm like in your mind, you're like, okay, they're a pro at what they're signing, so they know the color and this and that. Sometimes they'll take like a big marker and they're like signing on the small thing, and it looks terrible. And you're just like, why would you
like sign over like the logo of the movie or something where you're like, dude, why don't you put like the blank spot right here?
Yeah, or they're signing like black on black, and you're like, how does that even make sense?
I mean, again, I just feel like if it was me, I would who knows? I mean, you would just think that the people would take pride in their signature, in how everything looks for a collector.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. It's crazy, but guys, people are still hanging out here as we're talking about conventions. This was about
TGIF.
TGIF in the 90s. We kind of ran through year by year. So everybody who is watching, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on a Friday night. Anybody who's coming on the replay, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, it was a little bit different. And you can find Cody at Dude Who Loves Movies. Cody, do you have anything you're working on right now? Because, again, when you're working on stuff and something comes out, it's money. So
yeah, I still have to do an unboxing for Ultimate Chucky that I have. I still haven't opened it.
I would love to see it because I don't own that one.
And I want to work on a video, but I don't think it's going to do very well. I want to do a John Ritter video because it's the 20th anniversary of his death. So I want to work on something like about John Ritter because I'm such a huge fan of his. And but that's pretty much it for right now. They just come to me. But I do want to say, guys, after the stream, go into the comments and put what you would like us or what you'd like to see episode 3 be, and and see, and we'll see, we'll look at them and we'll talk them over, and say we get so many, we can move that to number 4 and 5 and just keep it going.
Hell
so
yeah.
if you have an idea, go ahead and put it in the comments after this.
I love it. So if you're watching the replay or in the chat, throw in the comments a show idea for you guys, because we're for the people. So we we'll definitely take into consideration, and maybe you can give us some cool ideas. And Brian Goes Blue says, I got Eric Freeman's autograph already. It's already done. It's already done. Got it. I got him and the other guy already. But yeah, he's there. So guys, again, thank you so much. I can't wait to see Cody's unboxing of Chucky Ultimate. So go make sure you sub to his channel. I keep promising I'm going to drop a bunch of videos, but I hate editing, so it just takes long and long. So I got Anchor Bay Archives coming out. I've got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles watch along coming out. They just need to be edited. And I'm trying to think. I've got 40 movies to watch and review, so you'll see that shit popping up all the time here. But guys, thank you again. This is Garrett at Born to Be Rad,
and Cody from Dude Who Loves Movies,
and we are the
Rad Dudes. Oh.